to everybody. I'm here because a lady who does not want to be named, messaged me asking me, am I ashamed to be Muslim? No, I'm ashamed to be Muslim. I'm very proud of being Muslim, and I don't see why anyone should be ashamed. This religion is beautiful. I don't have full time, which I should, but not yet with friends. That's about it. I am not ready to tackle people yet. I am just building my faith to shoot people out there. You should strengthen faith. Knowledge should 100% be sick is the basis, the foundation of Islam. So it asks you, like, if you want to tell your parents and they fire questions that you can answer them. You can't like that. So they know that you know about it and you're aware of everything. I am not at that stage yet, but inshallah in time I will be. I am the lady that messaged me. Being ashamed of a religion is not good. If you are ashamed of a religion, then don't be in a religion. Don't be in a religion. Like, why have one if you're ashamed of it? Because if you're ashamed of it, then you don't believe it. If you believe it, then you're going to love it. Because you have a reason, you have a path in life, you have rules and guidance from Allah, and that's the beauty of it. Having someone there who you can pray to, who can provide for you, who can look after you in the hereafter. And it's beautiful, my religion is beautiful, my history of the religion is beautiful, the people in it are beautiful, it's a respectful religion, and I love my religion. And on another note, my past post for Rebirth in Islam, I mentioned something about Muhammad ﷺ, and I mentioned straight after about worshipping him. But him was not Muhammad ﷺ, it was Allah. No one is worth worshipping but Allah. I'll tell you that. So if you find any other faults in this post, please let me know, as my brother did. Salam to you, brother. Thank you very much. And to the other guy, I do speak English. This is English, but I just have an Australian accent. Might not be the English that you speak, but it's English. Oh, okay, rocked the computer too much. So Salam, message me, and I'll get back to you in time, inshallah. Assalamualaikum of Islam, and how do people want to learn about Islam? I'm Aisha is my name. I like to have Islam is as well, because people that think about Islam and I've heard really think about family or friends work, that can be but I came and started as a business school. It really helped me because I did myself to God. I was reading about Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, ages from hundreds of years ago. I was doing everything, and I was Christian. Life had meaning. A real way, and I would like to know. I did believe that Jesus' person was the Son. So I started reading. As soon as I read the first paragraph about what is in the word, I think a lot. Was just the word of the religion means a lot. And I mean, why would you wish one that God mention Allah? We just Allah keep on giving people. And Allah that we have Allah. And why can't we wish Him? My friends said stuff like that. And the beautiful friend of sisters, and they love my family now. And I thought about someone more cheers there. But I would like people to know that you do it. I mean, my family don't know and about 5 of my friends are Muslim friends. I haven't told any of my Christian friends because I don't think it would get down too well, because in Australia people are very strict with their religion. People are very supportive. Muslim people are very supportive, and you always have somewhere to go. I won't tell my family now because I love them and I love them so much, but they know that me and a boy called Musa are seeing each other, and they're very supportive of it, and they know that if I make a scar, I don't really mind. But I'll be helping to take it to learn words like inshallah, mashallah, stuff like that, keywords of Islam to use in your everyday life. It's hard to say it, like, I don't always say it, which I really should, but I say it around certain people. Like, if I'm with my mum, I wouldn't say it. If I'm with my friends that are Christian, I wouldn't say it. But yeah, I have to start saying it, but it's hard, but I'd work at it. I'd work at certain things, and hopefully, inshallah, everyone will love Allah. That is my wish. I wish every human being that was born Muslim and everyone on this earth, and I wish they stay on the path to Allah.muhamaddan. And if anyone has any questions, please message me, and inshallah, at time I'll work for you, because knowledge is built on Islam, everything is Islam, and I've learned too. People should know everything. There's always to understand, and I really don't anything I can. And people like me who see that know stuff. Make me know. Well, that's it. I would really like to say take it slow, finish everything, and salam, and just message me.
Give thanks to Allah for the moon and the stars. Praise Him all days for what is and what was. Take hold of your iman, give in to shaitan. All you believe is give thanks to Allah. Allahu Ghafur, Allahu Rahim, Allahu Yuhibbul Muhsinin, وخالقنا ورازقنا وهو على كل شيء قدير. Allah is Ghafur, Allah is Rahim, Allah is the one who's Rahim. He is our creator, He is our sustainer, and He is the one who has power over all. Give thanks to Allah for the moon and the stars.
Before I became a Muslim, I think I was just for all intents and purposes, a normal teenager, I suppose. I went out with friends and did normal teenage. I think I liked Britpop. I went to concerts, was there. Yes, I went to high school. I was very business. I went to university. I loved going. One day I question why like you see what is collaborated a little bit was true. I wasn't early kind of resident to Judaism and other things. I had not become very valuable about it so like that very much was actually very focused on equal treatment of women, social justice, or very intellectual religion, yet also very spiritual and religion as well. And so I become a bit mental and take it serious. It was when I was 19 that I realized this is actually something I believe in.
Thanks to Allah, the moon and the stars. Praise Him all days for what is and what was. Take hold of your mind and give in to shaitan. Oh, you will believe. Thanks to Allah.
My daily life has changed all, and in other ways it's changed quite suddenly, I think. The main difference would probably be that I perform the ritualistic prayer like Sunday, so the first prayer is before sunrise and then they get up for our day. Change. I feel like by where they start looking at the problem. I've done some I should do that stuff and feel like I had more than you and more than how much with better hair or having one woman being scared or different colour or whatever. But where dad is made don't be alarming for my mind than for my head, or how long my life or how I have that. God doesn't win inside me for your own. I haven't had any parents or talent and to do things that is with some of them on both sides. But I feel that's what I do is not. I think she is a friend, hopefully, sure that would be a happy or
same commands of life that God has given. You obey God, for He will forgive you and admit you into heaven. That's the way I thought it. Jesus taught me saying. And then Paul writes a letter to Galatians. In that letter, Paul rebukes the church in Galatia by saying to them, it translates the Greek, foolish Galatians. He calls them fools. He says, and he calls them fools and he asks them, why have you become trapped up in law? Why have you become trapped up in law is a curse? And all the law is cursed. And he says this law is cursed. Therefore Jesus came to free us from this curse by taking the curse upon himself. And Paul quotes a verse from the Old Testament says, everything that hangeth on a tree, because even Paul himself in the New Testament said that crucifixion was a stumbling block to Jews. He says this thing, crucifixion, is a stumbling block to the Jews. Because the Gentiles go through and tell them that the way of is to believe in crucified Christ. And they would laugh at them. But by the law of the Old Testament, anything that goes on a cross, anything that's hung on a tree, cursed by it. Well, this was the entire reason when they were taking Jesus to see what to do with him, that they were continuing to say crucify him. Because they were saying crucify him because they were telling them to discredit him. They weren't making him to be not who he says he is, and you want to crucify him. Because if you can crucify him, he's not the Messiah. By our own word, if you can crucify him, he's not the Messiah. So this was why they said crucify him. Now we know that he was not crucified. Because by God's own law, he cannot be crucified if he was the Messiah. And we believe him as the Messiah. So all these things became a conflict with me. This whole thing. So I was in frenzy. And I saw many ways that I was in a Christian righteous, as to say. Real righteous. So he took me to back to Bob Jones. He also got in touch with some Bible scholars at the Institute, which is one of the biggest evangelical schools in this country, the Institute, which plans to have my great study at bottom. And they came together and they had, an intervention. They tried putting, they began to, because I started to believe that this book cannot be from God. It cannot be from God because there's too much in it that does not make sense. And then I also, the contradictions of text. Started reading the text, I started to write that not only there are contradictions in what the text says, which there are thousands of them, and sometimes there's no need to go through them. If you want to know them, there are many books out there that will show you them. Books written by non-Muslims, to say. Bart Ehrman, go to Barnes & Noble, ask for any book by Bart Ehrman, and there'll be plenty of them. He's the head of religion at UNC Chapel Hill, and also a very good friend of mine. He wrote a book called Misquoting Jesus, Who Changed the Bible and Why. Good evidence on Bible textual criticism that I've ever seen. Not only did I notice changes in the text, but changes in the way the language was spoken. Because you can tell in Hebrew when not speaking, because it is an extremely eloquent speech. A speech that is not like any type of human speech. You can tell the difference. And then you can see when it automatically changes to almost like slang. It changes to like uneducated speech. So, and it goes back and forth, and you can see this. Someone who knows language, they will see this. You can see this. It's like having a person standing up here with a PhD in English speaking and a fourth grader speaking. You can tell which one is which. Even if they were behind the screen and they wrote it on a piece of paper, you would tell which one is which. So, they had a laying of hands session on me and everything to try to get these evil spirits that they said were in me out. And I ended up talking to one guy at Bob Jones University, and I don't want to give out his name because he'd probably not be very happy with me saying that he is the person who wrecked my faith in Christianity. And he would not be very pleased if I was to give out his name and accredit that to him because he's probably still a professor at Bob Jones. But he sat me down and he said, you know what, Brother Joshua? You're seeing all these things that are happening, mistakes, things that don't make sense, things that don't look right. And he said, you're going to see it and you're going to continue to see it if you continue to read this book. He said, because this book was written by man's hands. Anything that has been touched by man's hands will have fingerprints left on it. So what happened was, all the things you see is that somebody probably made a mistake. He said that the copy of the guy who copied this person for this, so on and so on. Probably one of them is they somebody copied and made his own and counted the other parade. Somebody had one from his. He said, and you have some problem. And just, I had to sit down and I hate for a second. But I was trying to try to recite that it all and every thought, or about real by divine through men, trust the paper. And I gave life to Christ. So needless to say, and for a lesson altogether. I decided that I knew this first for sure. I told myself that there was no ring. I know that knew we had a person. I knew that there were people not remembering history. I knew there was some religious behind it. So I like Judaism and gays and how many they do now. The part of the gay that stood up at the law, they gave no morality. The religious had it all. You say this was and it was like the law do that God's true religion will be balanced. Because life is balanced in order for this harmony to be balanced. So I am not this my Taoism, Confucianism, Buddhism, Zoroastrianism, study type, anything that isn't in the country. I just because I'm by study field or the samurai. I even win all of them because I studied them. And every one of them I would see glimpses of the truth. I would see glimpses. Kind of panhandles for gold in the stream, you find flakes. I would see flakes, but no nuggets. There was nothing. I was not getting the core, as to say. And I don't want to discredit him. I don't want to discredit him because I went to the public library and pulled out the Islam. And then Muslims, which for a second I'll let you know is a very derogatory word, and in Arabic it means one who oppresses others. Refer to them as Muslims. It says that Muslims worship a moon god, and they bow their heads 5 times a day to a box in the desert, and they can have as many women as they want, and they're all Arab and things of this nature. And what else did it say? That they can kill non-Muslims anytime, any place, in any way they wish without scrutiny. And that there will be 70 virgins in heaven and all this other stuff. So needless to say, I made it about chapters in the book. I put the book back. Thank you very much. I took a one of the big fat magic markers and erased Islam off and said, I'm moving on. And I said to myself that if I convert to any other religion, Islam would not be the one, for sure. Thank you very much. I'm done with that one. And so, being 17 years old and having been searching for the truth for about a year and a half, 2 good years. So, being 17 years old and having been searching for the truth for about a year and a half, 2 good years. About a year and a half, I'll give it good credit, about a year and a half. Really hard searching. I became very frustrated. I became very angry with God at a sense that, I'm looking for you and you're not doing any effort. That was my prayer. I'm looking for you and I'm not seeing any effort on this end, I felt as though I was in a room with all the lights off. And every doorway, there was about 50,000 doors in the room. Some of them took about a year, but the lights were off, and the only way I was going to know is to be able to read the signs on the door. And I was trying to feel my way through this foolishness to find the right door. And I really got frustrated. I'm asking God, why don't you just turn on the light for me, please? Just let me out of this foolishness. So needless to say that at the age of 17, when you don't have anywhere else to go, to a lot of friends that can show you a lot of places to go, trust me. So needless to say, I got into the boarding life, as they call it, the street life. And I'm a perfectionist at heart. Anything I do, I want to be the best at it. If I was a Christian, I wanted to be the best. If I wanted to be a scholar, I was determined to be the best. So when I decided to get into street life, for sure no one's going to outdo me. So I went from one way to extremely really quick. I was getting into trouble, getting kicked out of school. I got expelled. I had to go to night school. I was getting arrested. All these things were happening to me at the age of 17. And my grandmother was bewildered at all. She had no idea what had happened to me. And she was always there telling me, what happened to you. And I would tell you, that I'm tired of looking for God. I'm always there, but He doesn't care about me. I must be at Him if I'm good for Him and He's good for me. So I said, I don't want to hear that. I'm going, I'm going to be out of the house. I stayed out of the house all the time. Because that time I had something to do what I wanted to do. There was 2 incidents that changed all of that. The first incident, I got into a car accident wherein me and my friend were doing about 60 miles an hour on Interstate 385 on the way back from Columbia University. And just so happened that I got accepted to University and got kicked out a month and a half later because I got it on for a fight. So this is what that life was doing to me. And anyway, I was going to Clemson because all my friends were going, and we were on our way back from Clemson from a party. And it just so happened that night we were really tired, and I never wore my seatbelt. It was just something I didn't do. And that night I just happened to tell my friend, we're tired, I'm in the seat. I hope you're going to go deep, so throw a seatbelt on. You're off in the ravine, at least grab a seatbelt on. So We did that, and we did run off into the ravine. Needless to say, we flipped the car about 6.5, 7 times. They say, like who's counting? It was flipped quite a bit of times. And at the end, half of the car, back end of the car was on one side of the street, and the other half of the other. The car was completely in half. And I was awoken by the accident, which the road coming at you at about 60 miles an hour in the face will tend to do that. And after the accident, I didn't even know what to think. Like, it didn't happen. I didn't know if I was dead, alive, out-of-body experience. I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. I need out of the car. Because I remember movies, cars flip, they roll, they blow up. So let me get out of this car. So I got out of the car, and I pulled my friend out. And he had 2 broken he had a broken leg and a broken ankle. And I had a piece of glass sticking out of my arm, which I still hard to prove it, but it was nothing. I pulled the glass out, wrapped it up in my t-shirt. It was not a big deal. I got on the sidewalk and started counting body parts. Because I looked at the car and figured that there had to be something missing, some broken gash, something. There was nothing wrong with me. Then this gash, I was discombobulated, and my friend had broken legs and he was on moaning. And it just so happened at that time, the police officer traveling the other way, he saw it, turned around, came back. I was standing on the edge of the road trying to find my cell phone in all my pockets while my friend was maybe 10, 15 feet down the ridge. The officer pulled over, got out of the car. I guess he didn't notice that there was not another car on the side of the road, but he got out and he asked me, he said, "Did you see the accident?" He came up to me, "Did you see the accident? Did you see what happened? Do you know where the people?" I looked at him, and I said, "I was in the accident, that's my friend's car." And when I said that, it was also, how they, people talk about, seeing the blood drain out of somebody's face. I saw blood drain out. I saw him go from regular color to white. And look at him. And he said that after seeing that, because he saw the wreck, it happened in front of him coming towards him and went across the road in front of him. He's already called the coroner just in case. He said, "These are wrecks, when we come, we immediately call the coroner in case. Because these people don't live through that type of wreck." He said, "Do you see this one part car?" I said, "Yeah, I see it. I was in it." He looked at me, and he must have been a very rich man, because he looked at me and he said, after that, he said, "God is real, and that you're here for a reason. You're reason, and you're right with that reason." He said, "I know you better figure it out, because I'm like this, let's have a problem." So he said, "You have to figure it out." And then we got him in the hospital, all that good stuff. And he said that was the only thing that we was like, on what to do. That was a battle scar, not to myself. I had a lifetime experience. About a month after that, I traveled to New York with a friend of mine, and I'm in my area. I traveled to New York with a friend of mine, and I left the hotel room. Happened to be the same friend, and to a friend. I left the hotel room to go in, and anyone who's been to New York knows most of the ATMs, you have these little glass rooms that go in, and I think now they're a little safe when you go to the glass room and lock in where no one else can follow you. I don't know if they haven't changed that or not. It seems ridiculous, because people actually wait outside for someone to go into those ATMs to follow them in after they get the money and rob them. Because where are you going to run? You're in the glass room. It seems like it seems like a big trap. So I went. I withdrew my little $60, and as I was walking out, a guy came in behind me, and apparently he was so in need of his money, was so proud or whatever on drugs, and that he was not willing to take the chance of me not getting him that money. He was not going to take the chance of me running away, not getting money, fighting him, and somebody noticing him, because he pulled the gun, pointed at my face, pulled the trigger. He didn't say a word. He didn't ask anything. He didn't say anything. He put the gun in my face, which by the look of the gun, I would say it was probably a .357, because it was huge. But of course, maybe just because there's a gun in your face, all of them might look huge. But this one looked really big. It looked like a cannon. And he pulled the trigger. And it was a revolver, because I remember distinctly, I can pull it back as if I was seeing it now. I remember seeing the little cylinder roll, and I heard the click. Because it revolves one way and then goes back, and then the hammer hits. I remember distinctly, and that sound in my mind is putting goosebumps on me. I remember that distinct click. And then I remember his eyes getting big, because nothing happened. Nothing happened. I don't know if there was not a bullet, or if he was so drugged up that he didn't know the gun was not loaded, or there was a bad bullet. But after that, he started trying to pull the trigger again. And before he even had a chance to do that, I had, because of my martial arts experience, alhamdulillah, God, I have overcome what's called fight or flight syndrome. I was shocked by the fact that it was on my face, but I also do know how to react to that very quickly. I'm a training instructor, which, that's the first thing you work on is fight or flight syndrome. So immediately I bum rushed him and smashed him against the glass. I cracked all the glass with the door and shoved him through the door, and ran. I ran back to the hotel room, didn't want to call the police because I was not supposed to be in New York myself. But needless to say, I went back to the hotel room and started thinking to myself that, that I got to get it together. This is crazy. I got to get it together. So I went back home and I sat down and told her what happened. And she looked at me and, she told me, said, the police officer was right when he told you, did you have a purpose? So I went back home and I sat and told my grandma what happened. And she looked at me and, she told me, she said, the police officer was right when he told you, did you have a purpose? And she told me that, this is God's mercy. That He's sending these events in your life to make you realize He loves you. He says, because if He didn't love you, He'd let you die. But He wants you to. And He's allowing your life to be extended as a mercy to know Him. So she's always one. So, I went and renewed my search for God today, and I became an agnostic, because I didn't believe formal religion. Any formal religion had it. So I became an agnostic and decided I was going to worship God and His oneness. And I used to pray every day, many times a day, bowing and prostrating on the floor, because this is how the Bible taught. This is how the Bible prayed. Abraham fell on his face and prayed. David fell on his face and prayed. And just fell on his face and prayed. So I prayed this way. And then one day I was having a debate about living with a friend of mine. And a new friend of ours, whom we knew through business, happened to show up at that time. Told me that he was Muslim. At that point, he just decided to reveal that he was Muslim and asked me to come to Juma. And knew him through his business, and it was this very business that did not allow me to realize at that time, and I knew him for almost a year, that he was Muslim. Because I was not able to realize that he was a Muslim and a part-time drug dealer. Those two things, they didn't. From the book I read, I didn't think that was part of the job description. So, and he was African American, and I thought Muslims were Arab. So that threw me off. He explained to me, no, what kind of foolishness do you listen to? All the lingo, and he said, you need to come to Juma. He was like, I'm not enough Muslim about Islam, because I don't live it, apparently. And he said, but if you want, there'll be people there who can help you. So I said, okay. I said, what is Juma? He said, it's Friday service, just church on Sunday. There's just no chairs. I said, oh, okay. I like church, no chairs, fine. There's no big problem with me. I sat on the floor all the time. I was a Boy Scout. I said, no problem. So I hired myself to go to the Juma, because all I knew about Muslims was this thing I read in the book. So number one, I was very scared not to see there aren't many windows in the mosque. That was the first thing that scared me. The second thing that scared me was, and this might be shocking to you, that I lived across the street from this mosque all my life. They knew what the mosque was. It was next door to the church I used to go to the Lahab company. And you could touch the two buildings like this. So I didn't know that. That was great. So all these Muslims lived across the street from me. All right. So I went to sit down. If I get away with it, I'm Muslim, I can. Then who the sermon got up. He's called a khatib in Arabic, which means, just a talker. And he started his sermon. His sermon was, Inna alhamdulillah. And I said, oh my God. I said, he's talking about me. Because I was only non-there. I was the only non-Muslim there. And I was the only person sitting away from everyone else. He's talking about me. I'm in big trouble. I just got this little guy and set me up. I didn't see him. He wasn't there. I said he must be the messenger to bring another one. So, the Americans, I thought about it. Because it wasn't the American, it was mostly an Egyptian and Syrian and Jordanian, mosque. So they were all Arabs, most of them Arabs. And the Arabs, they were Christians. I didn't know the difference. So, I was shaking. I said, okay, you're a martial artist. You can take a couple of them. Take a couple of them and find exit. So that only lasted about 30 seconds. He mixed English, and then he started translating what he recited in Arabic. And the translation was, all praise belongs to God. We praise Him, we worship Him, we seek His help, and we ask for His forgiveness. And that began to ease my heart a little bit. I said, okay, okay, calm down, just waiting. So I started to ease down in my seat a little bit, my position on the floor. So, then, he would make it through some, and then every time, like every 5 minutes, he would go back to Arabic, and I would get scared again, thinking, now he would translate it, and it would be so beautiful. What he would say would be so beautiful, words like I had never heard before, ever. And I had understood from knowing a little bit of Hebrew, I understood a little bit of it, a little bit, because Hebrew and Arabic are not too far apart. Ancient Hebrew and ancient Arabic, even in what's called Fusha, and ancient Arabic are not very far. There are ancient languages which have same words. And I remember to this day what the sermon was about, because as an agnostic, and what I had believed through reading the Bible, that salvation comes from God alone. This was my conclusion, that the Bible says this, Jesus nature tells you this, reasoning tells you this, logic tells you this. God created me, therefore He's the only one who can forgive me. And this is what I would say to those I was debating with at the end of my stage of Christianity, was that God did not question Jesus when creating. He did not ask His permission. He made me and His mother. Therefore, why do I need to ask anyone to worship Him? Why do I need to ask anyone? Or even if they forgive me? It makes sense to me. It didn't. And I'm not bashing anyone's faith. I'm not. I'm just trying to give you my story. How I got where I'm at. How I got from there to here. That's it. And I remember that he told me, the sermon was that the forgiveness, don't despair in the mercy of God. The mercy is always open to anyone at any time. And he said, as long as you have not died in the day that have known, that you can always fall on your face before God, ask Him for His forgiveness, He can forgive you. And He's the only one who can grant you paradise. Him and Him alone, no one else. And he said that your good deeds, your actions alone cannot get you. If you do it all your life, he said, you cannot go to paradise just merited on that alone, because the price for paradise is too high. The exchange rate would be, all these would fall away as dust at paradise. He said, what will get you there is God. And I will pick up obeying His commands and asking for His forgiveness. That's it. It's a step manual. That's the process to get there. These will not do it. So, this to me was like, there's someone like, you see, someone agrees with me. Somebody, I had to come to this mosque to fucking agree. These people who worship a moon god and bow to a box in the desert, at least they got this right. So, after this, they make praise. And those lines, just how you see it. And this really scared me because it looks almost kind of like military lines. Not at me. They're looking away. Now it's time to get the good deeds, go get the American guy. So, but the guy told me, he came to me, I guess he saw my friend, he came to pray. We're facing this way because this is the facing towards Mecca. He explained to me really quickly, how is not what we're worshiping, but it's a symbol of our unity. It's a symbol of the unity of God. It's the first house of God built by Abraham. And it's what Muslims still bow over. And we're bowing to God. We're facing. I said, listen. And when they started to make that, the one recitation of Quran was the most beautiful melodic tone I have ever heard in my life. And I was a lover of music. Number two, when they started bowing and prostrating on the floor. This is the way God prayed. This is the way the people of God prayed. So, I said to myself, and even Christians fought me against that, why I would prostrate on the floor and pray. I said to myself, you wrote this off way long. You wrote this religion off way too easy. And I became upset with myself because I considered myself studious. I considered myself minded. I considered myself having an intellect. So I said, you wrote this off way too easy. I said to myself, you wrote this off way too long. You wrote this off way too easy. I became upset myself because I considered myself studious. I considered myself open-minded. I considered myself had intellect. So I said, you wrote this off way too easy. So to speed it up, to get there in 2 minutes, I got a copy of the Quran. Because I asked them all about the brief, what is religion about? They told me God is one, believe the prophets. They started naming names like Moses, Jesus, and everything names. In the Quran. I said, okay, do you have a Quran? Can I have one? Because I believe that a religion was justified by its book. If your religion is truly justified by its book, there must be something concrete Not just you say what this person does or what this person says. There must be something concrete that I can have passed down to me, that I can pass down to someone else, that defies this religion, that validates it. And when I started reading Quran, in the first 2 chapters I started getting to names that I remembered. I started the story of Moses, the story of David, the story of Abraham. And what I realized that these stories were different than any story I've ever seen in the Bible. These stories are at the height of this day. They were at the highest peak of morality. They were the people to follow. They were the guiding example. Not only they command the people to do good, they were the living example of it. To me, was what made sense. This was what I was looking for. This was the people that I could follow. These were prophets. This was what I could call a prophet. So needless to say, I kept reading through the Quran, but I had given my heart to this book after the 2nd or 3rd chapter. I had said to myself that I don't care what this religion is, but if this is the book that justifies it, I want to be whatever these people are. And I want to be whatever this book tells me I need to be. And I would read in the book that it said that Allah has called us Muslims. So I said, I'm a Muslim. All alone in my room. I said, I'm a Muslim. And I went back to the mosque the next day. 3 days later. I read the whole Quran in 3 days. And I went back to the mosque because I wanted to be a Muslim. And I knocked on the door and it's locked. Muslims always come to the mosque on Fridays in 1998, except on Fridays. So the guy at the gas station told me, he said, if you're looking for the Muslims, they'll be back on Friday. Alhamdulillah, they have 5 salah a day in the masjid in Jackson. In Greenville, South Carolina. They have an Islamic school there. Alhamdulillah. Praise be to God. So I came back on Friday and I took my shahada. I said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu Muhammaddan Rasulullah. I believe there's no God but Allah and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Because when I learned about Muhammad, I said to myself that if God chose him to reveal this book, then he's a prophet. He has to be. Because you don't pour water through a dirty pipe and get clean water at the other end. It doesn't happen. You don't get this pure of a book through a man that's not this pure. So I became a Muslim, and needless to say that the rest is history. And I hope that if nothing else has benefited you, just to know that there are people out there just like me. There's lots of us. There's lots of us. There's 10 million Muslims in this country, and growing at a percentage rate that is mind-boggling to people's statistics. People who study growth of group populations, of religions, of races, of things like that, when they look at the percentage of the growth of Islam, it boggles their mind. Not only does it boggle their mind, but the fact that after 9/11 it doubled and quadrupled boggles their mind. Everyone said it'll go downhill. I was Muslim in 9/11. They said, we're done now. We're done. It's over. And I'm a person, I'm a student of psychology now and sociology, so I like to think of myself as being able to look forward. I look farther than right in front of me. I said to myself, you know what? We're not done. This is the beginning. This God's wake-up call to the world. And to us. That why are you hiding? Why are you hiding? You're begging for the microphone, you're begging for the spotlight, while you're hiding in the dark corner. You want the spotlight? You got it. And we've had it since 9/11. We've had it. The spotlight is on Islam and Muslims. Everybody wants to know what the Muslims saying. What are they talking about? Everything. Go pull up today's FoxNews.com. The top item is about a man in Sudan who got expelled from the country for naming a teddy bear Muhammad. That's news. That's top news item. Why? Because it's about Muslims. That's it. That's the only reason it's a top news item. So I just want you to know that we're out there and we're real people. In something that is far greater than anything you've ever seen on TV, anything you've ever read about in any book about Islam. It's far greater than that. It's far more beautiful than that. God is far greater than anything you've ever tried to imagine in your mind. The mind cannot comprehend it. Cannot begin. It's like casting a drop off your fingertip in the ocean. Doesn't do justice. Muhammad, peace be upon him, is a man like you've never read about. This is why we got so angry. And when they wrote these cartoons about him in Denmark. Maybe a lot of us overreacted. Yes, we overreacted. But if someone insulted your mother, most of us probably would overreact. Just because we love them so much. We love him so much. Because he gave us this pure religion, this great way of life that has changed me from being somebody that nobody wanted to be around to somebody who now wants to be around everyone, because I want them to know where I've been and what I've come through. And even though my grandmother passed away in 2002 and my parents are not Muslim yet, I'm working on them. They are very staunch, they are very strict Christians still, but they love me to death and they love the fact that I'm Muslim. They will stand up and say in a group of their own congregation that I'm glad my son is a Muslim, wouldn't want him any other way. Because before, he did not have any respect for me. Even as a Christian, no respect for me. Now as a Muslim, he calls me every day. When I'm sick, he drops everything to come see me across the country. Why? Because his religion tells me he has to. This is the way of life people need. And I'm going to finish. Forgive me for not being able to compose myself. I'm going to finish with a statement of Bernard Shaw, who many of you may have read his works. He said about Muhammad in Islam, peace be upon him, that if a man like Muhammad were to assume leadership of the world today, he would solve every single problem. He would solve every single one of his problems during his afternoon cup of tea. This was this man. And this was the religion he founded. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. A man, it was just there, wrote a book called The Ranking 100. The most 100 influential people in history. I don't remember his name. It's one of those things that I've known it forever. And Michael Hart. He's a Christian. He chose Muhammad as number one. He said, because if you want to know what it means to have smallness of means but greatness of purpose, then go look at Muhammad. And go look at the religion he founded. You find it there. So that's what I'm conveying to you. I'm conveying to you the statements of your colleagues, non-Muslims. Just go do the research for yourself. Like Napoleon said, Muta, what can it hurt you? What can it hurt you? It can either be an interesting study that may lead you to understand 10 million people in this country a lot better, and 2 billion people in the world a lot better, and growing. Statistically, by the year 2015, Muslims will be a majority in the world. Statistically, we will be. So, it's just going to happen. So you will know them a lot better. Or you may find the truth. And what an amazing, amazing find that would be for such a little sacrifice, is opening a book, picking up some papers, meeting a couple people. I thank you for your time and hope that I have been of benefit. I finish by saying that there is no God except the one true God that created his name is Allah in Arabic, which means the God, and that Muhammad is the last and final messenger to mankind, and that Islam is the truth. Thank you very much.
Basically, my story begins in first year university. I had a year where I think problems happened to me. Parents separated that year. My dog died. It was a tough day. SubhanAllah. I had 2 fractures in the space 1 week. And also sadly I had broken away. I think that year there's an asking questions along the lines of why, what's the purpose of life? Why do we bother? Why don't I sit on the couch, watch TV, Jerry Springer, or whatever? And I think I started to ask questions about, the purpose of life, and that led me to start to do a bit of a holy quest. Naturally, as an Aussie, the first thing I did was investigate Christianity. I had a few Christian friends, and I remember going to a church camp. It was one of the funniest camps I've ever been to in my life. Everybody was singing. I didn't know what the words were. I didn't know what they were saying. It sounded they had beautiful voices, but it just seemed... And everybody was telling me how much money I was thinking, So I kept on investigating Christianity, and I went to a whole lot of, different aspects of Christianity. So we're talking about Catholicism, we're talking about Anglican, Baptist, priests, pastors. And every time I'd go there and ask questions, I'd find that they wouldn't pick up the Bible and start to say, oh, this is the answer, my dear brother. They would just start answering me. They would just answer from their own opinions. And I started to realise that there was a lot of interpretations of Christianity, and a lot of people had their own interpretations. And one priest from one church was believing one particular aspect of Christianity, whilst another was proclaiming another. So I started to think to myself, the Bible is one text, but there seems to be so many different interpretations, and it was confusing. At the time, I was first year university, I was also working in a service station, one of my part-time jobs, and one of my colleagues was a Hindu, was an Indian Hindu, and we regularly changed shifts, and at that time I was very inquisitive, and I'd say to him, dude, what's the deal with the elephant head guy? What's the deal with that, Why has that guy got an elephant head? And he's going, oh, that's Ganesha, this. I said, but couldn't you have chosen like a lion's head or something a bit better? We'd have, these really deep theological debates while people were buying petrol. And I'd be saying, yeah, why? Yes, thanks, mate, yeah, no problems. And again, I found that was very hard to stomach. So I sort of investigated a little bit further. I went into, a good friend of mine was a Mormon, and I found this religion appealed to me the most out of all of the Christian religions, the Church of the Saints. They were strict, they don't drink alcohol, they don't caffeine, so unfortunately kept out because I know Levos love cake. But again, there was that leap of faith I felt that I had to make to embrace this religion, and I found that I wasn't just into making a leap of faith, I wanted proof. I also investigated Judaism, would you believe it? And my original name before Abu Bakr is Reuben. So if you've probably seen all the movies, you've seen Reubenstein. At the end, they probably thought I was Jewish, so they thought, oh, this guy's one of us. But again, I just didn't find what I was looking for. Lastly, I probably looked into Buddhism, and I found that this was probably the religion that I was going to choose. I thought, look, this is great. There's so much. People at peace here. They seem to be really switched on, and they seem to be living one with the world, and that's what really appealed to me. But the more and more I looked into it, I guess I realised that it wasn't a religion of God. It was just a nice way to live. One of my friends, one of my close friends, who's a Christian, would you believe, said, tell me the religions that you've investigated. So I went through them. I said, Judaism, Christianity, Catholicism, Buddhism, Hinduism, He goes, what about Islam? Islam? They're terrorists. I'm not going to investigate that religion. They're crazy. Why would I even look at that religion? But lo and behold, I found myself walking into a mosque one day. This is my eternal quest. So I walked straight in, shoes on, straight across the prayer rug. There was a brother praying. I walked straight in front of him. As he went to go into sujood, I almost stepped on his head. SubhanAllah, I didn't have any clue what I was doing. I looked over and I saw this brother. You probably know this guy. This is Abu Hamza. He'd come here and he's lectured a few times. SubhanAllah, I call him Abu Da'an because he's got a very large beard, mashallah. He's walking out towards me and I thought, today I'm about to die. This is the last day of my life. I'm a dead man. I'm a white boy in Ledley. What am I going to do here? I'm dead. He came walking across as though he just walked out of the Sahara Desert. Big abaya, big beard. But subhanAllah, the first words he said were, "G'day mate, how you going?" If only he had the can of VB, it would have been perfect. SubhanAllah, I was very taken aback by his welcoming nature. Aussies, I guess now, I don't want to offend the Australians here, but my upbringing is from a country upbringing. My parents raised me as an atheist. They were raised as Christians. They were dragged along to church every Sunday, and they hated every minute of it. So as soon as we were born, they did into our head that when you die, you're wounded. That's it. There's no afterlife, no God. It's all rubbish. So I was raised as an atheist. So when I walked across and I saw Abu Hamza and he was talking to me in a very polite fashion, which I was very thankful for because I was sure I'd seen him on the 5 o'clock hijacking a plane the day before. hospitable, don't get me wrong, but Lebos are the most hospitable people I've ever come across. And as the brother Hamza was saying, these brothers are making me cups of tea, you know, and I honestly needed to keep going to the toilet every 5 minutes. They just tea in front of me, biscuits. I'd never think like it. And I think to some degree I kept coming back for the biscuit, but also for the religion. So when I sat down with these brothers, I actually started asking questions, all the questions that I've asked of the priests, of the pastors, of my friends. And subhanAllah, the thing that really struck me is that every time I asked the question, they wouldn't just answer. They would pick up a Quran and they would say, read this, bro, read this. And there was the answer, every single time. Ask other questions, the hard questions, not the easy questions. Why do women have to wear the scarf? Why the hijab? How come I can have 4 wives and she can't have 4 husbands? I wanted to know all the tough questions, which is the first questions I guess you ask when you come across Islam. But lo and behold, they kept on answering the questions with the Quran, not from their own opinion. And I got frustrated with this. And I actually said to one of the brothers, because by this stage I think I'd been going there for about a couple of weeks, there was always a few brothers there when I went. And I said to one of the brothers, I said, what's your opinion on the matter? Why won't you give me your opinion? And one of the brothers turned to me one day and said, how can I have an opinion when this is the word of God? SubhanAllah. I remember that really hit me. So I asked them if I could take a Quran home, and I didn't say I was going to use it to chalk up the couch or anything. I said I was going to respect the book, so I took it home, I started reading it. What I found was, while reading it, it wasn't as though I was reading a story, it was as though I was reading someone commanding me, someone giving me guidance. And one night I decided to really get a spiritual mood happening, and I'm sure probably some of you have heard this story before, so I apologise. I lit a candle. I had the candle, I had the wick on, I had the kids on, I was trying to get the spiritual feel. It was a nice summer night in Melbourne, and I was sitting there thinking, this is it, this is the night. I'd investigating all spiritual proofs, all the scientific proofs about the fact that the mountains are pegged, about, the embryo develops inside the woman, all these amazing proofs, but I still need that little push. It's like I was on the edge of a cliff, I was ready to jump, I just needed a push. So I was sitting there, I was very quiet. I was reading Quran, and I stopped. I said, Allah, this is my moment. This is the time I'm about to jump into Him. All I need is just a sign. Just a little sign, nothing huge, multiplying. Maybe a house could fall down or something. Just small for you, man. You created the earth, come on. So I sat there. I was waiting for the candle to start lighting the feathers high like in the movies. I go, okay, go. And subhanAllah, nothing. Absolutely nothing happened. I was really disappointed, to be honest. So I sat there and I said, Allah, this is your chance. I'm here. I'm not going nowhere. I'll do the chance. Maybe you're busy. I know daytime over the other side of the world, there's a whole lot of stuff going on. Maybe this time it could just be like a car backfiring. Something small. Alright, the half a house, but let's forget that. A bird outside, I don't care, just anything. So I said, okay, go. And subhanAllah, absolutely nothing happened. And I mean, I couldn't have even said, that was it. That creep just then in the wall, that was it. Absolutely nothing happened. I was really disappointed. I was gutted. I was sitting thinking, this was last chance, Islam, and I haven't done it. I pulled back the Quran, I turned back to where I was reading. SubhanAllah, the very next verse on the next page. For those of you who ask for signs, we're not showing you out already. Look around you, look at the stars, look at the sun, look at water. These are the signs for the people of knowledge. SubhanAllah. I threw the doona over my head and I pretended I was asleep. I was that scared. I couldn't believe how arrogant I'd been to want my own specific sign when all the signs had been there for me all along. The fact that we have this world, the fact that there is this creation is for all of us. The next day I decided this is it, I'm becoming Muslim. I've been investigating now probably 6 months, to be honest. I I went in and I said to myself, this is it, I'm going to make shahada. I had no idea what I had to say, I had no idea what the words were. It was probably close to Isha prayer, so it would have been, 7, 8 o'clock at night. I went and I couldn't believe it. There was about 1,000 people at the mosque. I thought, subhanAllah, look at this religion. Look at how strong they are. It was the first night of Ramadan. Ramadan Muslims. So I said, very nervous. I got up and listened down to me. You got to say these words, bro. Ash. I'm going, what? Ash, what? Can't I just say it in English? No, they say, no, you got to say it in Arabic. And I thought, looked over the sea of beards that I could see in front of me. And I thought, if I get these words wrong, I'm a dead man again. I had this fear, And they were staring at me, and I don't know if you know this, but Australians can't stare. Lebanese people can stare. So I was sitting there, I was very scared. I got up, and subhanAllah, as soon as I started to say the words, all fear went out of my mind. It felt as though a shower was inside my head and someone had just turned on the cold tap. Felt like I'd been flushed clean. I said the words, and I wasn't expecting so many brothers to come up and yell, Allahu Akbar, and start kissing me and hugging me. Now, I'd never been kissed by that many in my life. But it was a beautiful day, I must admit. And that day was the day that I had more brothers than I could ever imagine, more sisters as well. But I guess since that day I've never looked back. My family initially were very worried that I was going to be, I guess, a little bit weird towards them. They thought that I was going to break out the AK-47s and the grenades. But they realised, I think, soon that this religion was actually making me a better person. Prior to Islam, you're not going to believe it, I had a mohawk. I did. I had, I'm not going to show you any photos. I had army greens, I had the Metallica t-shirt, I had the cherry dogs. I was shocking, right? I thought I looked great, but I looked terrible. And alhamdulillah, ever since then I look as good as I do now. No, don't laugh, please. But my parents were the first people to actually say to me once, really amazed me. They said, my father learned the Quran recently, which I was really happy about. I always thought he'd be one of the hardest people to work on. But he said to me, ever since you've been a Muslim, you've been a better person. You're more reliable. I can count on you to come and pick me up if my car breaks down. Whereas before I go, Dad, I was drinking last night. I don't know if it's still out of my system.
I went home and told my grandmother, and she looked at me and she said the police was right with the person. He told me that he's got mercy to you. That he's sending these events in your life, make you realize he loves you. He said because he didn't love you, he let you die. But he warned you, and he allowed life to be extended as a mercy to you know him. So she said, go look for him. So I went and